Well, it's another map that is definitely going to be a long one in the end. YFP to be taking the win 13-11 over Thinking Men. Vans, honestly, like the Lotus, we always keep pushing it the distance, but we get to learn so much about the teams when we do get to see them face off here.
100%. I don't think I'd want to start VCL any other way, though. You know, we had D1, D2, and D3 have banger of first maps every single time, and it continues to repeat so far between YFP and Thinking Men. And yeah, I do agree. Lotus, you saw some much different plays coming out, though, from both of these teams that I actually quite enjoyed. It was a different approach of how they wanted to take robot control and how they wanted to scale the map from both a team that thought outside of the box for a Thinking Man, as well as a team that plays more traditionally in terms of a composition, although the way that they're scaling the map is done more differently on the attack for YFP. So I do like this mind game and this chess game that was shown by both of these teams. At the end of the day, though, I feel that there was not too much of a macro difference from either of these teams. It really came down to that micro in these moments where you saw when you're trying to cross over, trying to win your duels, it's not working out. These lurks that have not paid attention from both on these flanks from Anderson or for Thief, for example, on that first half. So there's a little bit to iron out that could have made this first map a little bit cleaner. And if we came down to those micro plays, I think we probably would have saw like a couple of rounds of overtime as well on top of this game.
And definitely a possibility, honestly, because this did look like any little micro decisions aside that this could have been anyone's game to be starting things out, which I think sets a really exciting path going forward for the rest of the series. Of course, when we are looking at Lotus, it was Thinking Men's map pick. So we'll have to see if they'll be just as comfortable for that. But looking over at the stats, it was interesting because we were talking about during the break about kind of like differences the teams could have had, maybe some sort of first blood engagement. But Gobs, where it's actually pretty equal on the board, which kind of catching my eye a little.
It is pretty equal. I'd say, honestly, that kind of felt like the theme of the game, right? Like this consistent back and forth coming through from YFP and Thinking Men. Of course, the defense just a tad bit stronger. I know we talked about that briefly on the side of YFP, which makes sense. It was constant shutdowns coming through. Obviously, the MVP Penny that I really felt like made it so much harder for Thinking Men to do anything. Not only that, but the consistent just push back from Thief, and a lot of the time it was actually Jonah's Viper wall that just scared off Paint, scared off that entry just due to that vulnerability. So it was a lot of, honestly, I felt like everyone had tied in pretty well into what this game had turned into. But as for that second map, I really am hoping things do change quite a bit, and maybe a little bit more confidence is due.
Yeah, and there was definitely some micro adjustments that needed to be done in terms of small mistakes that still happened towards the end, though, right? Like, for example, we mentioned that smoke that didn't allow the coverage for Wingmen to get a plant towards that seaside, which unfortunately faltered the round there for Thinking Men to lose that against YFP. Or just when the wall comes up towards that front B that Gompers was talking about, there's still a gap towards there that's an advantage for Penny because he knows about that wall. It's set up by the defense, but it wasn't taken account for against Thinking Men, or for Thinking Men against them, which lost in that round again. So then there's a little bit more in terms of like maybe nerves maybe at the beginning because you're trying to prove a point on your opening day in Split 1. But YFP, they definitely were the team that were a little bit calmer, which is why we see the result coming in their favor, winning against the map pick of Thinking Men.
I don't think there's anything that I was looking at with these teams, with those mistakes that you called, though, that I would be like, oh no, like I'm worried about this team. That's kind of something you lose that game tonight when you're after your win or your loss, you're reviewing things. You go, oh, wait a second.
Yeah. You go, unlucky, really. We go again.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to see maybe even if in our next series, a couple of those little things can be cleaned up even just then after they get a chance to debrief a little bit. We're looking at Bind for our next map, though. And Vans, we had talked about kind of the compositions that YFP kind of leaned towards at the beginning in broadcast. But looking at Bind, this is one that definitely, when you look at Thinking Men, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's quite the opposite, too, because when we were giving a lot of praise to how YFP plays certain compositions. It wasn't really on any of these maps, right? You're looking at them thinking outside of the box on Split, thinking outside of the box on Sunset and Icebox. But then Thinking Man, they're the ones thinking for outside of the box for Lotus and now for Bind, because they play a Raze Yoru, which we've already seen before, pulled out by Sentinels, for example, over in the VCTs, over in Americas. And Thinking Man just wants to mimic that a little bit more. They had the firepower to do that as well. They put, I think it's Paint on that Yoru, and then Reformed is actually the one that's going outside from a Sentinels role to play Raze for this roster. But now that you have Screwface in the roster, that might change. You might be able to have potentially here Reform play a little bit more of a initiator / support role, while you have really Screwface given an opportunity to do a little bit more duelist to help with Paint and really run it down against YFP.
Be interesting to maybe even see just Screwface back on the Gecko, though, because we got to see that.
That is also
true. I do
true.
like to lean towards that for Bind as well. And I did like the Gecko, and I do think Gecko is quite strong when you're looking at Bind. Looking at YFP, I definitely have questions when we're looking at kind of what they're going to be leaning towards, because they have, you know, Gomps, they got their Sentinel, but they've also had that roster change, because that was Moose on that role before. So I'm intrigued with how, if things will be shuffled around a little bit with Thief joining now.
Yeah, it seems like so far everything has been pretty much the way that it was left, just with a different player on both sides. I will say, though, like, the addition of these two members, it really does feel like nothing changed. And honestly, it feels like with Screwface being added onto the roster in replacement of the previous player, it kind of heightened the team a little bit. Screwface's initiator is insane, and I know we gave some credit over to Screwface previously as well, but credit where it's due. Like, the amount of pretty spectacular plays that we got to see, despite, you know, pushing the wingman onto the site with absolutely no coverage, no clear, no nothing. Some of those plays were risky, but I think sometimes risky works, and obviously it put them in a pretty good position with that 13-11. Obviously losing, definitely not the way that they wanted things to go, but all in all, a close game.
Yeah, and that's the thing for YFP. Usually they come out with a Cypher in his composition on Bind as well, although having a Cypher could be nice for these trap plays that you want to try to do, like for your own trap kills on B site. But in general, Thinking Man comes out here with a Raze and a Yoru. That's perfect utility to counter those placements being done by traps set by the Cypher, and also the Yoru flashes with the rest allows for you to work behind enemy lines when you have a composition for YFP for the rest of the roster that has more utility for plant denials against, for example, a wingman plant that Thinking Man usually has with a wingman. So, with a Gecko. So there's going to be, once again, a lot of chess matches of how Thinking Man wants to penetrate behind the defensive lines of YFP and play behind those APCs and the triples of the A sites. And we're just going to figure that out once we get into game.
I will have to say, too, like, with the Cypher edition as well, it's going to be pretty aggravating for Thinking Men to push for anything, to be completely honest with you. If the Viper's wall was scary enough for them, you know, playing onto that Raze wall where Raze needs to be that explosive pressure in order for things to work out. I mean, there is a huge punishment for moments where you do tend to lack that confidence to push yourself onto site, which we definitely saw a lot of those first engagements, hence being the issue as to why that happened. But yeah, I would say Cypher is definitely going to be a scary game for Thinking Men.
I mean, I'd be so much more scared of the Cypher if it wasn't for, again, going back to that Raze and the Yoru. There's nothing I hate more than locking in as a Cypher, setting up my wonderful trips. I'm feeling so good about my gameplay, and then the Raze nade just comes along, breaks all of it.
Or
I'm just
Yoru
like,
clone.
Or Yoru clone.
Or Yoru clone.
Yeah, it's just, it's a great time. So I definitely think with the potential lack of Sentinel, we've seen tape on these teams. We know what they like to go towards, but they could have changed things up in that month and a half, 2 months since we've last seen them. But it'll be interesting with that lack of Sentinel over on Thinking's Men end, if they'll be able to have enough of that firepower. They definitely have the agent composition for it, Gompers, to get them past, to make sure they can be retaking if they're not quite holding with a Sentinel.
Yeah, agent composition, I'm curious as to what that's going to be. A lot of teams have been cooking, and I kind of want to have it taste. I like food. So, in terms of that, though, with the agent, I do believe, but with the agents coming through in terms of that, like you pretty much said. The Raze nade and possible Yoru clone, like
all
great
the stuff.
Great
all
counters to the Cypher.
Yeah.
Great counters to the Cypher. I really am wishing though that they have the confidence to do it. And again, I felt like that was the main issue with a lot of what Raze, honestly, in my eyes, despite there being a slight decay to a lot of the entries that they could have had down in mid, I really think that they were capable of doing a lot more than what they did on the side of thinking.
We'll have to see if they're capable of it in this next map, because our agent select is ready, bind underway, so I'm going to send you two off and I'll catch you on the other side.
All right, going into it though, I'm super excited, Vancilli. I don't know about you, but you were right about the Yoru. Am I worried? No, I love Yoru. I'm kind of worried, but at the same time, I love Yoru, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Thief still wants to use this right now for YFP, which is going to be very interesting to play against now. Against this composition, there's so much that could break these trips. We've already seen some tastes now of like even Energy coming out with new strategies to counter Cypher trips on Sunset, for example. So Anderson now taking this role of a Viper. Paint with a Euro clone, reform with the paint shells. There could be a lot of util still here that breaks all of these trips. Nonetheless, though, at the end of the day, they have to force players to go in the site to go for a plant, because Screwface rotated out from a Gecko to play a Sky, which still brings a lot of value right now for this map on Bind. She's still a very good agent on this Bind, on this map, despite the nerfs that came over to her over the last couple of months. So hopefully they find ways to break those trips. If not, YFP starting off on a defense right now, they might have a good opportunity here to shut down the aggression that could come out of Thinking Man.
Yeah, I would say, definitely something to keep out for in terms of that counter and whatnot. But I'm curious to see what side they start off on first. I do actually believe they were starting off on... defending. Actually, no.
Yep.
YFP starting
YFP
off on defending.
Yep.
So, it gives them some leeway there to try their best to keep those rounds intact on the defense, and then maybe push for something more on the attack. But overall, I mean, seeing as to how this first round's going to start out is interesting. Majority heading towards B, which actually no, making that switch of the Viper down on A.
Yeah, with Thinking Man so far, Paint, you can already see him looking towards the caves. So he has a lineup to put a TP to meet up with the rest of the team towards Fountain. So you could see for Thinking Man, they want to try to start adding this pressure and a fake towards this A side, where it could be a good call, because look at the amount of players that you currently have from YFP stacked up on this B site. It'll just have to depend now based on that. Are they going to over-rotate once they hear this pressure coming out from A? Or will they stick to their plan with B? Because they still have this camera up on the A side, though, for YFP. This is going to help a lot into this fake that they're trying to do for Thinking Men. Wow, it worked. A decoy and a Yoru breaking the camera. 4 players rotating over. There's no TP coming out from the Euro, though, so for Thinking Man, they want to take advantage of the U-Haul position that they've just gone. It's free estate for Thinking Man, and now Thinking Man have the whole map to work with. They could TP late if they want to. It just depends on the first blood that Paint gets.
Even then, they're not moving in fast enough to really make too much of a change. Now, rotation coming through from Thinking Man, so despite that being a fake in the first place, they won the fight. So it may as well just be... I mean, the initial play, plant coming down pretty comfortable in terms of the post plant.
And they're going to be in such a difficult position to retake, because we just mentioned free real estate, free map estate that Thinking Man took. Now they have full control of showers, double control on U-Haul. They still have utility in terms of Paint with one more flash.
Yeah, YFP slowly taking things back, but even then, I mean, there's so little to play for, so little space as well. Crosshold being held, but YFP still managing to make some of those shots work. Face to take the right clicks in, but regardless, it's Thinking Man 1v1 right click miss, and that would have been a beautiful win coming through from Screwface, but a defusal from YFP starting off in the lead after a dub in the last map.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't have a chance to look at the utility that YFP had while I was trying to talk through the action, but they still had a flash and a molly to work with, which already from that allowed for them to clear out a little bit more towards towels, towards that ninja spot, depending on how you like to call it. The boxes by the APC flushed out a player, and then they were able to flood in 4 fundamentals in the trades and win that in their favor for YFP. Thinking Man, though, with this first round buy that they've, or first round plat that they've gone, and it ended on a 1v1, they want to go for an all-out take on the A side on a force buy. So already going for lineups to take control of showers. This will allow for a Decoy Euro to move up and take control of that for a late hit. Even TP now towards the U-Haul. If the dock clears everything, yeah, you're in a good spot here. Taking control now. TP disappears. Camera sees so much.
No value coming out of the paint shell, though. But already thrown down backside. Penny is waiting for the plant. Paint shell of their own to be thrown. Waiting for the perfect moment to do so. And this might be it, though. Screwface already getting the plant down.
The unfortunate lineup's missed to try to delay that plant.
Grenade!
Needing to clear out whatever's happening down in U-Haul, which isn't going to be easy. 2 players holding it down. In terms of utility, I guess Screwface could really apply some pressure as well as Physic. These guys, and a dream to be said, though, working around the back is Physic to try to take this attacker side. Maybe just dissect it just a little bit, though. 1v1 situation happening there in a flash that actually comes out on both sides. Beautiful from YFP. Although, yeah, already winning out the round. Thinking Men, no, they've lost it. It's a save round through from Thinking Men in a 1-1.
Yeah, Zippo clutch coming out to save for YFP because there was no time left. That was so unlucky from the flash that was thrown up there by Paint just at the cubby of U-Haul. It flashed himself, but at the same time, it flashed Physic on this very alert right here, which didn't allow for them to get that pick and to move into the site faster than that. Because if they actually had that kill, Paint couldn't get that kill on the diffuser, which they would have had a full stick and potentially the win there. So very well done. You'll take the timing, you'll take the luck on Thinking Man's side. And overall, though, at least YFP, they understand the lineup or the composition that Thinking Man has, that they still could play post-plant lineups with a Molly from Viper, a Molly from Brimstone. So they want to go for these flanks, and they keep doing it this time around as they want to try to find that pressure on the extremities. But it's a default play here from Thinking Man. They get both kills in these extremities.
2 already down, too. So if you're on the attacker side, oh, this is a beautiful way to bring yourself up to that lead. Now making way to Screwface. So this is great. They know a site is clear for the taking. Question is, how is YFP going to take this information and maybe take the site back?
And it probably won't at this point. 2 Bulldogs invested. They went for a forced buy in that previous round, trying to buddy system up towards Long B. They've lost most of their economy in terms of what they're trying to do there on that round, and losing this one here, that's 2 rounds in a row. That's only going to give you 2,900 or 2,400, sorry, which then doesn't allow for you to buy in the next round. So they're just trying to ease up towards the pipes, trying to get a lucky pick towards potentially somebody overextending, because now the economy is snowballing here for Thinking Men. The force buy comes out in their favor. They're going to have a flawless in this round that's going to give him 3K each on top of a 300 credit plant. They're going to be looking pretty good for the next 2 rounds. Paint on top of that. Like he has dimensional drift when they have in the next round to play against an eco for YFP. You can find all that information. You can see if there's going to be a stack somewhere from YFP and then react based on that information. So Thinking Men are looking pretty good here on this start of the attack side.
Yeah, winning up that second round definitely put them in a very, very good position. Unfortunately for YFP, they have 4 spots so many times that at this point, I would just consider myself broke and try to get a fund from the government. There's no way I'm coming out of this one, to be honest with you. A save would be best for YFP, but it really is dependent on how this round's going to go.
Toxins going up.
Paint's already moving out. Decoy running behind it. Snakebite 2 for them to deny orb control 2. So at least on the side of Thinking Men, they know that there's no control towards showers. Potential, though, towards the B side because the smoke went down deep on the defense. So the jiggle goes there from Bones. He's trying to see if there's going to be any util behind there. And as the smoke fades, though, you're definitely seeing here the TT in the site. Oh, but he didn't turn around. Doesn't actually know how many players are actually inside the site, but at least it might open up the door here for the B site, at least.
Opening things up, too. Oh, this is brilliant from Paint. Straight onto the site, and they've cleared out majority. to get a pretty good understanding as to what's going on. Oh no, already moving themselves up towards window. Beautiful shot coming through from Jonah. I'm looking for the next, but Screwface, of course, goes down. Some sort of vulnerability there, but no push coming through from YFP just yet. It's unfortunate, but they get taken down.
No charges left.
Unfortunately, only 2 left here for the defenders. They're actually just still going to try to go for this, though, because you do have this half-buy eco that you kind of have for YFP from that previous round. Double swing out from the site. Reform falls. They're going to at least try to make this expensive against Thinking Men. As Penny's going to be LMS. Last man standing. Here's a TP on 1 and tries to die to Spike, but Anderson is there for the pick. 3-1 on the scoreline right now for Thinking Men.
Wasn't necessarily expecting Thinking Men to do so flawlessly, but we did see the agent selection, and it is looking like it's working out pretty well with the Yoru. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the game plan was there, right? Stacking up on one side, having a dimensional drift, realizing now that, yeah, I didn't get information on the A side of how many players were stacked in there, but as he ran across towards the spawn, there was nobody there inside the B side, so it was an easy cue for Thinking Man to take over B. The only thing, though, on the execution, though, is Vix kept one of his smokes and didn't use it for hookah, so that could have been dangerous if Jonah 6 actually landed some 6 shots with the Sheriff and more than 1, which maybe would have been a turning point for YFP on that previous round. But it wasn't the case. Thinking Men, they're still able to snowball the economy. And interesting enough, they're using an op on the attack and the hands of Paint. Sees a jump spot from that Sky, and the second one coming out. Couldn't contact on the kill, but not clear on the left side. What that flash.
Oh, okay, but that was a great shot on the Trailblazer. Unfortunately, I mean, Physic came right out after that to try to take in the trade-off, though. Yeah, great first engagement, kind of being pushed up. Thinking then I have to think a little harder to see what they can do next.
That was a nice little play, though. The play off the contact, and then you had, okay, they're moving up with the op, and then they're going to try to gain the space, a orbital strike to actually pin the players down towards, forcing them to push forward, and then they went for a double swing for the kill. Thankfully, there was only 1 player there. If there was more bodies, then potentially could have been some even trades. The YFP have a man advantage. They hit towards the site, and these are the trades.
Can you come back from this? Maybe not, especially with the op down in the hands of Screwface, and huge investment to be pushed up on site that far with. But yeah, given away to Thief, possibly not. Now they've dropped it. They don't see the purpose of having that.
Yeah, which is actually interesting because that's a huge piece of util for the defense to use that operator on the D. That said, though, I think they want to focus on, okay, well, if we're going to try to opt, but they're playing against a Euro that could just TP behind enemy lines, maybe that's the reason why they don't want to play the op, because they might get caught off a position way too much. I love this nerdy trip that's being placed right now by Thief, by the way, but yeah, it's going to put them at least in a situation for Thinking Men that they could still buy because of the amount of rounds that they snowballed since that force spot that they had in round number 2. There's only Screwface that's low on HP, low on economy, but it's fine because all he's going to do on the Sky is use all this utility for his team to scale up towards this B side. They could take control of Orb for reform along B as well and just ult in for an entry. But there's 4 players of YFP here.
Oh, somehow doesn't even identify who's on the other side. Reform has no idea and still doesn't even manage to get it. Regardless, the showstopper sabotaging the team of Thinking Men. So now they kind of lost out on the entry. Actually, maybe not. Regardless, they still do take out YFP, but that's absolutely insane. Majority YFP out of the picture. Now it's up to Thief to try to make something happen. Of course, the only thing left available, one piece of util that isn't going to do too much in terms of, pushing themselves onto site.
Dude, how did Penny still survive from that showstopper that looked like it landed right at his feet? He survived at 14 HP. He definitely wants to prove a point that he has a redemption arc, wanting to be one of the best duelists right now for VCL and have an opportunity to step up to the plate, and also wants to show that he could survive any of these ridiculous situations with a showstopper. Nonetheless, though, behind that Showstopper for Thinking Man. You saw that amount of util that came and followed behind the Showstopper. Orbital Strike came out on top of that as well. Made it very difficult for YFP, despite them having the power of numbers and reading the correct site. They just couldn't play against a double op setup. A double ult setup, rather, that Thinking Man had moving into the B site. I mean, look at the bodies that fell through. They tried to fight back towards that B main and probably got flashed out by Screwface's utility. There you go. The dog even on top of that with the orbital strike. There's nothing you can really do at that point when you've separated the map with, or separated the site with a Showstopper and an orbital strike. So this is going to put the YFP in a situation where only one player is at a lower buy this time around, and that's Jonah with a Spectre. Getting pretty close to a pit. Yet they don't want to find the objective or use the objective to get that pit early. Nobody's taking control of Long B or Showers, and that's currently being denied and taken care of by Thinking Man for Showers to start.
Oh, and they were lined up beautifully for Scrubble.
Bomb buddy out.
Still, the nice trade-off coming through from Penny. So regardless, they've lost one. Not going to be too much of importance, though.
Portal closed.
It's going to stay pretty quiet. You're at the minute mark right now for YFP. You've lost your Sky, so trying to get information at that minute mark is going to be impossible. The only thing that you have now is active information from a camera, and you have to play the buddy system towards Showers to try to find that information. I still like the pivot that you have from YFP, though, because if they take control of the Showers here and they lose short A, this is a important part of the map to control for your retake for the site to allow the other two to rotate across from the spawn. So it's good. They continue to push forward, though, and Bones unfortunately falls to Vix, and that makes things a little bit harder. Showstopper out.
Yeah, Penny knows the Showstopper, despite the distance, all it will do is damage. Unfortunately, Screwface half that damage with the Showstopper. So, not going to feel too good, though.
Spike planted.
2v4. And a snake bite to utilize. I mean, not really going to push for much.
Here.
And they got a hat. If they want to invest in a hat and just storm into the information they gather towards you, all get lucky.
Oh,
Last
Jonah with the
player
first
standing.
pick. And that might be the call here. Pick up this Vandal and try to save a Thief.
and that would have been brilliant, actually, if Jonah had just backed off and waited for Thief. So at that point, maybe utilizing that neural theft would have been the best bet, but Reform now shutting things down. Pretty nice and easy. Thinking Men up that 5.
YFP on an eco once again. Thinking Men are... They have pretty much everything under control. Whenever they're trying to go for Showers control, very passively done. There's nobody really watching it from YFP side. When they're trying to move towards Long B here, there's a little bit of pressure. They got results out of it from YFP because they had 2 ults to work with. Or sorry, 1 ult with an orbital strike through the Sky util. And then everything else, trying to hold U-Haul, trying to hold Hookah. They're just not really reading it or predicting where Thinking Men are trying to scale up and take control of the map at the beginning. So they're going to have to rethink that through. And if they try this time over to take control of Showers, this is the first time that they're going to do it at the beginning of the round where you still don't know what type of utility is being currently used by Thinking Man for the control of Showers, unless the only thing that they heard was an audio cue of the Yoru and a Snake Bite. But they don't really know how many players are behind that util. So they're going to have to play this very cautiously. Is it going to be some sort of trap play information? Utilize the Skydog a little bit more towards Long B so he goes through the TP so to get early information as well. Now, it's not going to happen this round, but that's something you're going to have to think about in round number 9 once this eco is done for YFP. If they're able to convert the eco, though, awesome. If not, at least try to salvage those next rounds.
Here.
I mean, a great time for a timeout, too, just to figure yourself out, but still neural theft available. If they start to give themselves a slight disadvantage or even just an early fight, that could possibly happen out towards A, but now just defaulting from Thinking Men.
They're just waiting here if there's going to be a Sky coming out, a Sky Flash, so they could stay away from it and try to rescale up, get the timing of the smoke dropping down. 20-second mark is down. So Screwface can position himself with the Outlaw, and instead of a jump peek that he was ready for, Fizzik goes for a dry peek jiggle. It allows Bones to be the second man to be on point with the Sheriff. Spotted by a dog. and they have to give up the spot.
Yeah, they've learned from previous iterations on the side of thinking, man, that YFP don't play around with long. Especially with that Sky Brim cohesion they have going on. They're just waiting. With a TP there, a slight fake out. Oh, and Thief is leaving. This is perfect to try to gain some ground. And again, maybe hold the angle. They've seen it.
30 seconds left.
Is it going to be enough? No. Slight peek out forward. No smoke creating that coverage. It was close on Thief. And if they had picked up that mantle, maybe it could have been a different story.
Thief walked away whenever he heard the TP from Paint, the Euro TP coming out from the main TP over on Shower side, and it allowed here Anderson to move up and gain map control. That said, the gamble stack that you had from YFP towards the B side denied.
Yeah.
As you get the plant towards A, and post-plant simulation now for the commit.
Anyone else?
Okay, through the smoke, that's fine. Paint, go ahead and do it to him. They're already at a disadvantage with the pistols, but...
One enemy remaining.
I guess if it makes sense there, yeah, YFP definitely not having a good time, unfortunately, regardless of that, but struggling a lot more than the last game, which has to feel good, as any flawless to really continue things on, but Thinking Men on a streak right now on the attack.
Definitely gets very annoying to try to get your gears rolling here when you get poor spot and lost your stronger buy here in round number 2 for YFP. So seeing this scoreline right now is sort of normal as they're still trying to rebuild their economy. This becomes now a very important swing round and very doable for YFP to bring it back, because you get to a point now that your money's right. You could finally have full shields. You've finally also had enough ults so you could cycle it around should you be able to win the chess game of the ults that Thinking Man currently has as well under their arsenal. That said, though, it's not only on that. You have to have not necessarily better reads of how Thinking Man are working up on that map, but they have to find ways to fight back against this early control that Thinking Man is doing. All they need here is a dog, and then everybody's already falling back on the site, and they give so much room here for Thinking Man to TP across and work both sides.
Paint is quite literally like a secret spy. And even then, they've thrown out the decoy. Beautiful play, already leading Paint into the pack and having Thinking Men push themselves to try to gain some ground. It's working out so far, but Physic might be that main obstruction. And Thief just a tad bit too late. Already so much damage being made. The Paint shell. Okay, thought it was going to at least do a little bit more. Maybe not. The smoke covering, and of course, somebody watching. They know Thief is there. They've heard the noise before.
Spike planted.
No. Waiting for the plant. They see it. Perfect for Thief if they can work themselves up and down to the left-hand side. 2 players watching for some sort of contact. Yeah, impossible to win. And that all started from just one very, very smart initiation through Paint.
Yeah, and it was followed behind by Seekers on the attack too. Actually, it was on defense, I think, that I saw that coming out through as well, because Physic was able to get the information. He gets the Seeker hit onto Paint moving in the site, and also gets a couple of kills, which already puts him at almost halfway through the ult. So Seekers are exchanging information. YFP were in great spots after that to try to go for crossfire setups. But again, when you're playing defense, there still has to be anchors towards the other side, so they had lesser numbers against a full 5-man take here from Thinking Man. And unfortunately, it just didn't pay out in their favor. You saw the timing that Thief was trying to move in and get a hat in, but as soon as he walked through, he just stepped on hot molten mollies left behind by Vix, and he was already down to like 60 HP. So that made the chances very difficult for him to try to clutch a 1v2 with a neural theft to get information. But you see it off the timeout now. They want to fight for aggression, for the defense, and it's perfect at least for this round.
Not beautiful too. Off the rip. So you would think that this would have to be the round one, yeah, for YFP to take away. And it might just be Reform doing a good job at managing to make some of that damage happen, but again, Screwface gone, so no heals left available. You got the spike left down as well. Yeah, difficult round to win.
GLHF, 2 HP left, Paint shells. You could get lucky here with a couple of shots, but
I have the spike.
even if you win a 1-tap, you're going to fight against a drive-by 1v1 against Jonah P towards the end, and even a buddy setup. Yeah, you see here, able to get that shot into Penny, instantly trade it. Well done in the end, but I like the switch. But it feels like they're able to get these forward position victories when they're backs against the wall for YFP. Remember that second round that they've gotten? It was playing off angles at long B, having an orbital strike and contact play with the dog to actually get information and engage and initiate that fight. That round, perfect on the high-low push at short A, but that's because they gambled trying to close the gap because they have stingers and a guardian to work with, right? So you're trying to play a little bit closer against your opponents, and they're able to win that round. So now I want to start seeing that from gun rounds as well, because it seems to catch Thinking Man a little bit off guard.
Every time I see Scrubble like pop up, the eyes are so blue. I keep, it's like my attention just directs there. But goodness gracious, it's been pretty, honestly, the Yoru has been such a damn difficult thing to really get by. And that round honestly just showed it. And more time for the timeout for Thinking Men just to kind of give a way to the round and having an understanding that they did something wrong. They want to fix it immediately, not to give any more rounds over to YFP is pretty responsible, I'd say, with the pace of how things are going.
This goes here.
Yeah, unfortunately there, you didn't get too much value of that Yoru since the forward push from YFP was able to deny that possibility of getting that space for Thinking Man, but this time they'll try to do it. Thinking Man trying to work out towards the short side. Very interesting with the trips here. It was to counter this showstopper coming out from Reform that it was going to be a satchel towards the top. But Reform went towards Showers instead. No damage, but there's still trips that could be useful right now to try to get a kill towards Showers. Nonetheless, here's the engagement of Thinking Man towards the A site.
Yeah, the Pain Shell kind of zoned them into a beautiful spot. The YFP are just ripping apart the team of Thinking Men. Zenny flawless round, rightfully so, of course. They
last round in
didn't have much to play for here, but the last round and a bye round as well at that. Finally for Thinking Men to really push forward with.
Great read for YFP to actually win that round on defense because of those trips placed behind. So again, thinking and understanding that, you know, despite your losing, what was it, like 7-2 on your scoreline so far, you have an anti-eco, or you have an eco of yourself. You're trying to fight a little bit closer with the Stingers and the Guardian to win that round, and then you're still in the zone to understand that they're going to try to showstopper while on the attack with Reform, and they cancel it out. Now they bring that confidence. They want to bring the fight back towards Thinking Man. Showstopper to clear space, but this time on the attack, they also read that. Defaulting back towards the spawn, avoiding the showstopper, and now they're forced to reuse utility to re-clear now towards the A side. So that means there's potential less utility for them to have to really engage on a post-plant situation. So we'll have to see what they're going to try to do. Is it going to be a contact play up, or will they use a Sky util? It looks like to be a contact play up with the wall.
Oh, yeah, there's no way they were getting out of that one. Physic was ready and prepared, unfortunately, not knowing the Sky was there as well, and a free fire from Penny just to keep this team back. That's a nice hold from YFP, and it does do a good job at keeping things kind of at bay for a little bit, but Reformed is going to be that main issue, really moving forward, down inside of hole, some damage done, but it's not going to do enough.
Yeah, that smoke's annoying right now for YFP to really try to re-engage and regain the ground towards the A site. But this is where it becomes important. It's been a long time since we've seen a B side push towards to try to flank out towards the A site because they know the lineup potential that Thinking Man has. Brimmy on Brimmy about to happen towards short A, which is going to be very important for YFP to win if they want to win this round.
Yeah, but this is great. I think Vix actually reads into this too. Oh no, they're playing for the post-plant lineup, and they've read into it. Maybe YFP are still slowly working around down to the back. The post-plant lineup still there. They know the molly has been set out, and they did call it, but unfortunately just a bit too late there.
Last player
YFP, no time to play for anything at this point. Pate staying alive just in case, but still regardless. And he takes it. Doesn't matter though. Nice round from Thinking Man playing for that. If there was just a little bit more time for Bones to really work around the back, I think they would have been able to take that away.
If Bones was still looking towards short, though, because the position he had from Vix out of that, he was playing still on the palm tree side. And he had to recross all the ledge for the lineup for the spike. So technically, if Bones was still watching that, he potentially could have punished Vix and
I
not
agree.
allow that molly to get popped towards the end. He only realized it after he finally got a backstab onto short. He heard a little thump, and he's like, "Oh crap! I just lost a round for my team because I didn't fight against the." I didn't do my job to get rid of the pulse plant molly set up here by Thinking Men. So that allows here, despite the scoreline that was very one-sided at the beginning, to at least salvage a couple of rounds from YFP as they take the attack. Thinking Men, they had a great composition here to try to fight on aggression, just like they did on Lotus. This might get a little bit more difficult right now, though, for Thinking Men on the defense, as they have to be more aggressive. And there you go. They start things off. They pinch into the showers. They look back here. They see nobody. And then for YFP, it's for them to re-engage and try to find that information. The dog doesn't see much, though. So they have to play into the unknown if they're going to be able to plant here towards this A site.
And they're still trying to get the plant down, but with the sprays coming through, it's like you pretty much can't. It's risky to do so. Even that spike down might be the worst thing that could happen. Does manage to find a shot through the crack in the smoke that Bones had set down. But even then, the smoke isn't going to do too much in creating that coverage that's necessary to get the spike down.
The first one was a tap, just trying to flush out that utility from Thinking Man. And as they re-tap, they lost players in the process, and that smoke's about to dissipate. It's going to be so hard here for the plant to go down. It might be a last-minute pivot, but there's another smoke that came down, thankfully. And orbs coming up, spikes down, and good luck for the last two.
Oh, with a possibility for... Okay, what? Don't tell me that was fair, because Reform just literally pulled out nothing and made it something. That is insane. The one tap just coming through the smoke to end off the round. Thinking, man, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah, I'm surprised that when they heard this amount of TPs that went through for showers, that YFP still wanted to focus on trying to go for a tap on the A side and not pivot early here towards B or something like that. They probably felt confident that they could potentially just fight back behind the brimstone smoke that was placed down by Bones, but they just met up with a lot of ghost shots coming in from showers when there was like, what, 3 or 4 players at that spot already?
Yeah.
So now YFP behind by 5 rounds. They don't want to go for a force 5. They don't want to gamble things yet. They still think that the comeback's doable until Paint wants to fight for it.
Spike down A.
So sure, if Thinking Men start to go back onto that that win streak that they were on before, it really is just going to feed into the ego too. I would have to believe, yeah, Pain's just confident at this point playing the Yoru, but confidence gets shut down. Bones, 2v2, this is closer than what it would have been before, but of course 2 bullets down on a weapon that goes 140 is definitely not the way you want to go down, but 10-4.
Goes 140 against a team that didn't want to go for a force buy. And even if they went for a force buy, it would have been a Stinger half shield. So perfect call for YFP to just go full classics, even dropping 3 players in the process, including a judge left behind by Thinking Man. So you'll take that dub. You still lost a round. You're still trailing now by 6, but you'll take that small W. It's not capitalized at that point, but it could be now that Thinking Man has a much different buy this time around. So YFP have an opportunity to play a little bit more defaulty, a little bit more passively, especially with the smoke coming down. You might expect now some sort of trap play coming out from a Euro flash. Oh no, Jonah's engaging into it. So hear this molly.
Oh, but this hold might do well. Second flash push through, but then there is some sort of trade-off there. Tons of players waiting for an aggressive push like this one coming through from Thinking Man. Of course, though, Physic. Everybody else on YFP finding that the A site seems pretty comfortable.
Thankfully, as well, that Jonah, yes, despite him dying, though, didn't throw that molly out towards Long B, where YFP was trying to take control there, because a decoy came out, they flashed behind it, and then Jonah now understood that there was definitely an aggressive attempt being done by Thinking Man on that lower buy that they have in their bonus. So that said, he gets all that information. Rifle against the pistols were definitely much stronger, and YFP are at least able to string their first round. Start the thread, hopefully, for the second half here, as they're soon able to finish this round. 4 against 1. Screwface not able to do any damage out of that. No force armor to be rebought by Thief. YFP, they will try to close the gap. They have an orbital strike to work with, but the retake with paint on the dimensional drift could mean a lot right now for Thinking Man.
One enemy.
Huge potential too from YFP. They have the, like you said, the orbital kind of stacked down. Could zone into some sort of potential entry, but pretty good at really denying any source of entry when it comes to Thinking Men lately.
Camera taken out.
Prepare for hellfire!
Yeah, already set in stone. Orbital strike set down. They've zoned the players back onto site, so they have that clearing, moving themselves all the way up towards lane here. The two players just set for some sort of contact play, and now a third slowly working themselves up. So paint there, and a slight lurk on A. So the A site might be that potential push.
You'll take that dub. You get a free orbital strike in exchange of a TP from paint. Now there's no dot to clear behind the wall coming up here. The flash, yes, it's going to say, hey, there's defenders here. But where are they? No idea. So they have to TP back, focus here on the showers.
Oh.
And Reform gets picked. Nice drive-by.
Yeah, and he was watching that angle too, like a hawk. It's unfortunate. Three players wide swinging the angle, starts to panic just a bit. The pain is there, left inside of U-Haul. Not seeing the second though.
Spike planted.
I don't think they know. Regardless of tons of information, just going to follow through here. YFP, if anything, they just need to keep ground. Everyone's going to know where they are. They need to expect a moment like this one, though. Screwface finding
Heal up, squad.
paint and assisting in terms of that help. Alright, seems like it doesn't matter. Even though the spike is down, smoke is up, set in stone. Screwface trying to find it. YFP slowly making their way through, but it's up to Bones to find it. Scrubble Bob just ends it off.
That is so surprising there for Thinking Men. At least for YFP, it's like, how the hell did Screwface just walk into U-Haul and get a free kill with paint into Dimensional Drift? Because I was going to say, yes, you have the Dimensional Drift for paint to be able to take the retake on the A site and give information for his teammates. But at least YFP, they're playing positions where they can get wallbanged, they can get owned by util being thrown towards the air, yet it's just Screwface walking behind them in U-Haul and getting a free kill, which then started snowballing the retake for Thinking Men and winning that one in the end. Yes, it did come down to a 1v1, but it definitely could have been cleaner for YFP to even put the round in their favor on top of that. Thinking Men winning this round, they're still on a interesting buy, as it's a little bit all over the place, while as YFP, they still come out a little bit stronger out of this. Only one Spectre, but 4 rifles. Screwface playing in U-Haul with his teammates. First contact is one of those weaker buys that still takes the upper hand against Jonah B.
Out.
Fake teleport. Time to jump.
Yeah, one taken down from Reformed, but so many more left to be said. And even then with a slow backup,
exactly where
a nice pinch from YFP just to take pain out alone. And that's been one of the main issues that we've been seeing there.
planted the spike.
Just trying to get by. Spike being planted and now potential util to kind of keep this team back.
That's the important util. Screwface had that at the beginning of the round. He now allows here Seekers with a showstopper from the Judge Killer Reform head, but it gets owned by Penny.
With a showstopper out too. I mean, it's unfortunate. You lost the ultimate. Now you have to try to fight this back. YFP, they know that the spike is down. They pretty much are set in stone here, especially with the util they presented for themselves with Thinking Men. The smoke down, they need to find that coverage. Despite that, still finding the next YFP, not ready to go down. And even though it's 11-6, potential to bring themselves back up is there.
I feel like I'm watching golf here, because just like golf, sometimes you need that luck to get the hole-in-one, and they just went for regular bursts inside this poison orb to get the kill on the instant defuse attempt coming out there for Thinking Men. And on top of that, they won that when they've lost, what, 2 players in the process of how they were trying to scale up towards that map. Because you had a Guardian kill coming out from Vix, you had a Paint Shell kill coming out for Reform, yet you were still able to hold back
right here
against 2 ults on the pulse plan at Shorted with no lineups.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty, though. They don't care. Okay, decoy comes out. Nobody shot it. Down. And they know they're faking it. Somebody might be close. back themselves
I
up
have
just
the
in
spike.
time.
It's rare. First time that we see Thinking Man on a lower buy here in this map. So YFP an opportunity to at least have some life back to fight back. This is definitely a difficult task ahead here for the attack set of YFP if they want to make this any resemblance of being a close scoreline like we saw on the first map of Lotus. Thinking Man still in the driver's seat at this point with a 5-point lead. Paint's playing this alone. If he gets 1-2 with this Flash Sheriff, I'm just going to uninstall.
Me too. Honestly, I'll join you in the boycotting of Valorant if that happens. This is...
Yeah, it would be ridiculous. Another lower buy Sheriff eco that goes in the favor of the lower buys. But at least for YFP, they get a plant now, and they could set up for a lot of util for post plant.
But it feels like YFP's going to hit here, yeah.
Oh,
My
everybody's going to
apologies,
hide.
not hit here, but yeah, hide
Everybody's
here.
going to hide. Thinking Man's going to die to Spike. They know right now that they don't want to give the opportunity here for YFP to get anywhere close of starting the cycle of ultimates. I mean, Penny's 1 away,
Yeah.
Jonah's 1 away, Bones is 2 away. So the next round here for Thinking Man with their gun round is, oh, I love this. Penny runs in, he's going to sacrifice himself,
no.
so he gets an ult no matter what in the next round.
Volley.
And then Bones potentially wants to do the same thing. I mean, they can't lose too many guns in the process because they're still behind by 4 rounds after this. And there you go. 4 of them save their weapons. Penny has an ult in the next round. And now for Thinking Man is, do we want to play against the Showstopper or do you want to play against Orb Denial? Because we've just mentioned the amount of ults that were really close here for YFP. And that's what they're going to discuss in this timeout.
Yeah, YFP have been slowly making themselves up, and that really does kind of damage the repetitiveness, and overall just the ego. I feel like Thinking Man Paint went from honestly kind of just egoing everyone on the Yoru to slowly bringing themselves back and in that respective position where they do keep those respects over to the side of YFP, but of course taking a deep dive into that, like you said prior. I am curious. I mean, what could be the best bet, for YFP to continue their stride, though?
For sure. I mean, Paint so far has been doing still a pretty decent job right now on this role, playing pretty much as a second initiator for the team, right? So as he's scaling up, trying to run these decoys, trying to run TPs, trying to keep enemies at bay, or at least close here towards where he's actually getting that ground, it allows for the rest of Thinking Man to really just utilize their utility to focus more on anchoring their own sites instead of being a little bit more active around the sky util that's not refreshable anymore. So you're kind of using Paint as that person, the first contact that's going to try to find info. And they're going to try to do so with him trying to move through the TP. You're going to come across and flash, get that pick, and TP away. Beautifully done.
That's a free one, too, in the hands of YFP. I'm in the hands of Thinking Man. Taking out one of that main portion of those smokes through from the Viper, so they have no way to connect themselves down towards main if they want to.
Spike planted.
And pretty much the retake commences. You see the Trailblazer slowly working itself up, and the Paint shot to close off the angle. Beautiful flash already being provided there. Yeah, I'm Thinking Man playing with the emotions of this team.
The dog spotted too. And YFP decides that they don't want to do anything with this.
Oh, the smoke. Bones is just sticking in the smoke, hoping things will work out for the best, but even then through the box, it doesn't! Another one taken away from Paint in the orbital strike the zone. And this might just be it. Paint gets taken down, Thinking Men somehow managing to find the shots, but of course the collection not there. Physic, it's up to them. And Scrubble cleans it up. Beautiful round coming through from Thinking Men.
That is so difficult there for YFP. Losing Jonah so early towards the showers from a simple flash TP out and a wide swing. Never expected it. How many rounds have we seen Paint do that on the defensive side? 0 until now. And he eats a flash, gets denied, and that forces the pivot of YFP. It's like, okay, we're a player down. We don't have any more control. Let's just try to hit towards this A site and just pray that we're able to get this through. And they did not. And unfortunately, now this is a timeout to rethink how they could bring this back. But it seems like everything is in shambles so far, pretty much, of how they're trying to work their attack. So Thinking Man They continue to be on the driver's seat despite losing a couple of these rounds on their defensive side. But when you're playing a composition that doesn't have any sentinels on your side, and you're using still your duelist to find information at first and able to TP safely and still get first blood, and on top of that, not even needing an operator to hold your defensive line, you're playing this second half very, very confidently.
Definitely a lot more confidence than I feel like we got to see too within the last map, but it's got to be difficult. I mean, straight from a timeout to Thinking Men quite literally just owning you in the first couple seconds, just decoy out and quick TP forward, but yeah, potential for that to happen again. I think Paint's kind of looking forward to it. Down towards B.
Same thing.
Yeah, no. This is a harsh push, too. They don't care. TP back, though, which is interesting. I'm assuming they just did that, yeah, for the orb to get Screwface. Pretty much on the same tabs that everyone else is.
Oh, they forfeited everything after picking up the orb, though.
Yeah.
So YFP, they just want to slow the pace down. Trying to scale up here towards Long B. They finally get the first point of information, and Paint playing inside Hookah. He heard two sets of footsteps jumping up here towards this line. For YFP, can they control now towards the entrance of the B side? Can they control Hookah? Or will they force TP?
Oh, trying to work it out, though. Paint takes the first. Always the first engagement coming through on the side of Thinking Men, but a quick retake from YFP. And it works out for the best, honestly. Numbers game definitely gives you a huge win condition, but how is that going to work out with Screwface having that flash available?
Even YFP, they don't want to use this pit to try to guarantee the round. They want to play the distance. They want to play Penny as the first contact. And just go for the double swing.
Yeah, but even with a swing moving forward, so one player taken out, YFP facing some sort of struggle. They do have, yep, the incendiary grenades.
Yeah,
so that's gonna.
I think it missed.
Hawk out! Blinded.
Maybe not.
Last player standing.
They're still fighting for it. They know they need to fight the extremities. Screwface coming around the back just to catch them off guard, but yeah, TP moving forward. Not so sure if they're going to be able to diminish, you know, that eco as much as they please.
Yeah. It seems though for Thinking out of 2v2 as they realized that it was a passive play no matter what from YFP. They might have been lucky by trying to go for a flash and then forcing a double swing out of YFP, but YFP played it very smart, not hearing a tap coming out from Thinking Men. They just played their distance. They stayed back towards Long B, and they got that victory. But I love that pincer maneuver that they had from YFP. It was a huge gamble, though, because they orbital strike towards the window drop so that the two players on Hookah could fight potentially only one player towards Hookah on a defense, but they had to play a 2v2 that still came in their favor towards the end. So it was a close call, but they were still able to capitalize on a victory. Change of pace, though, for Thinking Men this time. Lower by, and Screwface wins the one that's the strongest rifle for the team. Low HP. Is there going to be some sort of a Bogdan's Law where you could give the Phantom to the one that has more HP here? Because that's Scrubble Bubble holding right with him with Anderson there. So going to keep the Phantom, though.
Toxins going up.
There's way too many players to be doing something like this, especially cross-hold with the judge in the classic is crazy. And they just went away with it. Thinking Men, 2 picks gone. Disrespectfully so. Yeah, already a third. YFP, though. Okay, taking out Paint. The duelist that manages to make a lot of that space there.
Dave thinks that he has his space, but they don't know about Reform still with this judge on short A. So both TPs are there, and Reform might try to satchel close or Paint shell, sorry, onto triple.
Oh, they might actually be able to. No, I thought they were going to run away with that one, but that's a Vandal just given in the hands of Thinking Men. With it already that beautiful 2 first picks coming through, but then ripped away again. Reformed with the judge. And this is such a nice close angle. They know regardless, somebody's going to have to peek them. They have the angle.
One
And
enemy
have the will to
remaining.
do so. Screwface watching along the back. They know where they are. And a nice shot through from Reform. That's the victory that Thinking Men were looking for to take things over to that third map. And rightfully so, they're going to get it.
Defenders win.
I can't believe that the victory of that round came down to a right-click classic from paint close range and then a double judge at triple. That is the definition of how nothing, unfortunately, was working there for YFP on their mapping. It seems as though we were right there for Pancakes in the interview yesterday. Nobody's able to win their map picks currently for VCL. It's just Valorant, he says.
It's just Valorant is honestly a pretty good prediction of what this game is. It really is just Valorant. You can't go into it with expectations because your expectations are going to be destroyed as... I mean, you get to see it. The third map, though, we're going to be able to see very, very shortly after this quick break.